So I see that they don't have anything the same, so I make a 2-by box. First guy, last guy. Multiply them. That's what goes there. Now what you're going to do, by the way, that 6 times 1 is 6. All the ways to get 6. Now my goal is to get the center. Which one adds to positive 7? Boom. So now I'm going to write that as 1x and 6x. And now that I'm going to do that, I'm going to focus on the top. So I want to break down the x squared, xx, and I want to break down the 1x, 1x. They both have an x. Whoosh. What's left goes above. What's left goes above. That's a positive 1. And now my last thing to do is figure out 1 times what gives me 6, and that's 6. So my answer is x plus 1, x plus 6. Okay. Let's do number 2. Backwards box. First guy. Last guy. Circle it. 30 times 1, 30. All the ways to get 30. 1, 30, 2, 15, 3, 10, 5, 6. Now my goal is to get that positive 11. How do I get positive 11? Boom. 5x, 6x. Now cover this. Break this down. X, 5x. What do they both have? They both have an x. Whoosh. What's left goes up. What's left goes up. And that's a positive 5. Now I have to go 5 times what gives me 30? And that's 6. X plus 5. X plus 6 is my answer. Let's go to the next one. Make my 2-by. First guy. Last guy. Circle. All the ways to get 36 times 1 is 36. 1, 36, 2, 18, 3, 12, 4, 9, 6, 6. I'm trying to add to get to the center. Boom, that's my 6 and 6. Let me pause. So I get 6 and 6, 6x, 6x. Cover that. Break down x squared, xx. Break down 6 and x, 6x. What do they both have? X. Whoosh. What's left? X. 6. 6 times what gives me 36? Positive 6. So my answer is x plus 6, x plus 6. But since they're the exact same thing 2 times, we don't write it like that. We're going to write our answer like this. And no, I won't accept that. This is what I want. Let's try the next one. Do my box. First guy, last guy, multiply. 6 times 1, 6. My numbers are 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Now this time, I have a negative 7. So that means if that's positive and that's negative, they both have to be negative. So that gives me negative 1 and negative 6. So negative 1x, negative 6x. And let's do this above here. So if this is positive, but the yellow is negative, that means they both have to be negative. So that's one rule to write that down. Okay. And then I cover xx, negative 1x, x, x. Whoosh, x minus 1. 1 times what gives me 6? That's 6. And a negative times a negative gives me a positive. X minus 1, x minus 6. Let's do the next one. You'll notice they're very similar. First guy, last guy, multiply. Negative 30 times 1 is negative 30. All the ways. 1, 30, 2, 15, 3, 10, oopsies, 5, 6. Okay. If this is negative, let me put that here. If this is negative, that means that one of them is positive and one of them is negative. Now, the one who is negative is whoever that yellow is. So let's focus on this. We're trying to get positive 1, so that means we have to minus. So 6 minus 5 is 1. But since this is positive, the bigger guy needs to be positive, so that's negative. 6x minus 5x. I want you to notice what I did. I purposely didn't put the negative up here because I like the positives being with the positives and the negative being with the negative. It's just easier. X, 6x, x, whoosh, x, 6. 6 times what is 30? 5, but it's negative, so that's negative there. Let me zoom in. I'm left with x plus 6, x minus 5. Done. I want to jump down to number 10 because I just want, actually, you know what? Let's go number 6. Do my box. First guy, last guy, circle. 36. All the ways to get 36. 1, 36. 2, 18. 3, 12. 4, 9. 6, 6. Now, remember, if this is positive, but this is negative, then they're both negative. Okay? So that means I'm trying to add to get 12. Boom, boom. Negative 6, negative 6. So negative 6x, negative 6x. Cover it. X, negative 6x. Circle, circle. X. Whoosh. Bring down the x minus 6. Negative 6 times negative 6 gives me positive 36. So since it's the same thing twice, I just go x minus 6 squared. Let's go to number 7. First guy, last guy. Circle. All the ways to get 8. 1, 8, 2, and 4. Now, since this was negative and this is negative, then one of them is going to be negative. So instead of adding, we're going to be subtracting. So 4 minus 2 gives me 2. But since this is negative, the bigger guy is negative. Now, something I like to do is, since that's negative down here, I'm going to put the negative 4x here and the positive 2x there. Cover it up. X, 2x, x, whoosh. Bring it up. Bring it up. Positive. 2 times what gives me negative 8, and that's negative 4. X plus 2, x minus 4, and I'm good. All right, so number 8, make our 2 by 2. First guy, last guy. Circle. All the ways to get 30. Since this is negative, one of them has to be negative. So, if this is positive, that means the bigger guy is going to be positive. So I'm going to subtract to get 7, subtract to get 7. This subtracts to get 7. And since the bigger is positive, since that is positive, the bigger is positive. Negative 10b, negative 3b. Notice we're using b's this time instead of x's. b, 10b, b, whoosh, b up. Plus 10. 10 times what is 30? 3, negative 3. B plus 10, B minus 3. Okay? Now, I'm going to go to number 9 eventually, but I want us to jump to number 10 because number 10 is a little bit different, but I want to show you the game. First guy, last guy, circle. This time I actually have a number in front instead of an imaginary 1. So 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm going to go 1, 6, 2, 3. I'm still trying to add to my middle 7. Boom, that's 1, 6. But here's how it's different. You can either put the 1 or the 6 here. I'll put the 6 there because I feel like it, but it doesn't matter which one you put where. Here's how it's different. 3x. But this time, since we had a number there, we want to try to get that to match the number. So it's going to go 3, 2x. Where before, there was just an x squared, so it was xx. X squared, xx. So it was just bringing down the number. But this time we actually have a number there, so we want to get this guy to have the same number. So I go 3, 3x, x, 3x. Whoosh. Bring up the x, bring up the 2. 2 times what is 2? 2 times 1. So it's very similar, but just a little bit different. Oops, 3x and then x plus 2. Okay, let's try the next one. Do my 2 by 2. First guy, last guy, circle, 3 times 2, 6. All the ways, 1, 6, 2, 3. Since this is negative and that's positive, they're both going to be negative. This one adds. I know you want it to be this one, but when this is positive, you're going to add them. When this is positive, you're going to add them. When this is negative, you subtract them. So if I add those, that would give me negative 7. That doesn't work. Now, since this is a 3, I'm going to match this one with a 3, and then it matches that one as well. So now, this time I go 3x, x. Negative 3 times 1, x. Now, the 3's are what matches, not the negative. The x is what matches. So, whoosh, 3x. I'm left with x minus 1. 1 times 2 is 2. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm left with 3x minus 2, x minus 1. Let's try the next one. First guy, last guy. Multiply. Now, since this is negative, we're going to be subtracting the numbers. So I go 1, 6, 3, 2. The one that gives me a 1 is 3 minus 2. Since that's negative, this is going to be negative. Okay? I like putting the positives together. And then I cover. Now, the problem with going 6xx is the 6 won't match the 2. So if I rewrite the 6 as 2 times 3xx, 2 times 1x, now the numbers will have a match. 2x, whoosh. I'm left with 3x, and then plus 1. And then 1 times 1 gives me 1, but it's negative. So 2x minus 1, 3x plus 1. I know these get more difficult. We'll practice some more. So let's look at number 13. Make your box. First guy, last guy, multiply. The problem is, though, there is no center. If there is no center, it's literally like a 0. So what I have to do is a little hint is I'm going to square root 81, which means what times what is 81? And that's 9. So I do 1 positive and 1 negative, because 9 minus 9 is 0. So if there isn't a center, you're going to square root your multiplier. So then positive 9x, negative 9x. Cover x, x. Luckily there isn't a number, so I can just write it out. X, x, whoosh. X goes up, 9, positive. 9 times negative 9 is negative 81. And I'm done. Next problem. Do my box. First guy, last guy. Multiply. There is no center. So it's 0, square root. Square root of 16, 4 and negative 4. 4x, negative 4x. The problem is, this one has a number, so I can't use the 16, so I look to the 4. 4xx, 4, 1x. 4x, 4x. Bring up the 4x, plus 1, minus 1, 4x plus 1, 4x minus 1. Do this problem on your own, and you'll end up with this.